Rural Heritage on RFD TV is brought to you by Rural Heritage Magazine, a bi-monthly magazine featuring articles about farming and logging with draft animal power, small-scale diversified family farming and homesteading, and other aspects of our rich rural heritage. Rural Heritage Magazine, borrowing from yesterday to do the work of today. For subscription information, please call 319-362-3027 or order online at www.ruralheritage.com. Hi, I'm Joe Mishka. Welcome to another episode of Rural Heritage TV. Last summer, Jessica Meyer took us on a tour of the White Chimneys Estate in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. We showed you the home in an earlier episode, which was built in 1720. Later that century, an addition was added in the 1750s, and finally, in 1807, the third addition was made, reflecting classic federal architectural styling. Now she takes us on a brief tour of the grounds, as well as the barn that has been converted into a one-of-a-kind venue for weddings and other celebrations, maintaining its rustic charm, but adorned with opulent additions. But first, Jessica tells us how the estate got its name.
We can look at these chimneys here. Let me tell you a little story about the name. I mentioned the Slaymaker generations. So in 1807, that generation had 11 children, and one of the children was Hannah Slaymaker, who painted a painting of the property. The original is actually on display at Rockford, historic Rockford. At one point, it is reported that Hannah looked up, she saw the beautiful white chimneys and exclaimed how beautiful they were, glistening in the sunlight. And so that is when the property was named White Chimneys, approximately 1807. Prior to that, it did not have the name White Chimneys, but again, speaking to the many generations and additions to the house, as you added on, your chimney was on your end cap, was the exterior wall, so every section ended up with another set of chimneys.
Yeah.
So one of the things is we have random people pulling in the driveway at any time. I could walk outside and not know who's here. I, over this past winter, decided to make a walking tour, self-guided. So as visitors would happen upon the property, they might happen upon the first stop. So you can see here, we've got stop number one. So stop number one, our historic figure is William Penn, 1681, being our governor. And when you scan this QR code, it'll bring up its own private page. We don't have all these stops posted specifically on the website. You have to be here in person in order to experience it. Your next stop.
I'm sorry, so this is for people who just turn up.
Yes.
And
I do have a map posted on the overall map is on the website. So once they get here, then they can scan each of the individual stops.
And is that a profit center for you?
It is not.
You don't charge a thing for that?
I don't. I have an office manager here during the week, but I do not have any way to really capture on that. So it's just something that, again, we want to share. We want White Chimneys to always be something that is a national treasure and everyone can experience.
Is there a way for someone who completed the tour to help support it financially?
Certainly.
A donation box or something?
Certainly. Like I said, we have a full-time office manager. We'll walk over that way, and the contact form on the website also. All good ways to get in contact with us. Stop number two, right here, talks about Benjamin Franklin, how the country began to change during the early and mid 1700s. This is the entrance that our wedding guests use as they enter for a ceremony, which would be here in front of what's known as a pergola, also built in different stages here on the property. One of the oldest pictures we could find of this garden is dated 1876. It is on file at Lancaster History in Lancaster City. And the picture on the back, it says 1876. It has the four squares, it has the pillars. The marble, we know, was not added until 1923. So it has been interesting to see how the garden was laid out with that old world mindfulness,
Right.
and then pieces added as you progressed.
Do you have a wedding here every weekend?
At this time of year, absolutely. We have one today, 180 guests, and tomorrow.
Wow.
So it keeps us busy and keeps everything looking amazing. Stop number 3 is George Washington. We talk about the Revolutionary War, his friendship with General Lafayette, and how William Penn's holy experiment came to fruition and, of course, gained our freedom. This is a lovely angle of the back of the house as well. You can see dormers, the 1700s portions, and then this wing on the right-hand side is the 1923. Heading out here, this is a little wooded area. At some point in the centuries, there was a trout run they had built here. There were also some tennis courts over here. Now, we went back a few centuries. And yes, here's stop number 5, the Industrial Revolution, where we talk about all those amazing inventions. This is Don Julio. So this is where we greet our bride and grooms immediately following their ceremony. And he's waiting here. He wears baskets, and they may have the celebration shot of their choice. He is 4 years old.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Come on, Don. You want to say hello?
Beautiful.
We're going to move north.
Okay.
So again, this is the pergola that is documented in photographs as early as 1876. The ceremony's now over and we are in cocktail hour. So you've just transitioned from one section of the garden to the other. We do open up the field. If you notice the birchwood gate, you can, if you're a bride, have food trucks. We have our own mobile bar as well, remodeled horse trailer bars. We use herbs from the garden, rosemary, lavender, thyme, sage, mint. So we encourage the couples to make a signature drink that incorporates something of the property for their day. Now, this section of the garden we're standing in, we actually added in 2013. As weddings,
perfect.
that's the whole point. We used old stones and everything. But as weddings were exploding, and I personally didn't care for the flow. I wanted guests to be able to walk into the garden and somehow get into the tobacco barn. And in essence, the garden and the barn got married. And this is how we did it. So this is a lily pond or reflecting pool. We have an abundance of goldfish and koi that have made their home here. Some of the things we also do is first dance out here in the garden. So occasionally we have a couple that wants to join cocktail hour, and we encourage them, come out here and do that. This is another way to access the field so we can continue. And if you look out here, the farm you see directly north of us is known as Belmont. So Belmont was Jasper Yates, approximately 1750, and was its lands are part of Lancaster Farmland Trust. So these are protected pieces around us, not to our south, but all the ones on our east and west side. And specifically, the conservation easement for this property states, 800 feet, you can't build. We have to keep the bushes maintained so as to not obstruct the view of White Chimneys.
Okay.
So I believe it was the vision of the folks before us that it was meant to be shared and the general public could experience it. Little wall fountain here. Now, So interestingly, I love the concept of the French potager garden. So I make the vegetables in rows. I do many different colors as well. And it's just really shocking. We get a lot of people from Philadelphia, the city, and they love to see how peppers grow, how red cabbage grows. And there's plenty of cherry tomatoes this year for snacking. We even have some chefs, honestly, they'll come out. We have an herb section as well. So if they're looking for basil or thyme or sage, something to accent or finish off their meal, they'll come out here and cut some herbs. Pear trees, you notice the pear espalier.
Yeah, look at those.
The pears are just exploding this year. We are blessed. We are down in the valley. Actually, if we walk, let's go behind the wall here. And you'll really get a taste for the Pequea Valley and the age on these grounds. So we are in definitely a valley and the low point. Our well has a water level at 10 feet. We can see the water, and we've never run out. It's just been a great space. So this is what it looked like when William Penn was here. You had literally the Pequea Valley. I always imagine when you come, if you're traveling west on Route 30 here, as soon as you crest that hill and you come down into Gap, it's just an amazing view. And this is the valley that they must have truly thought they were back in Germany. So we're about to enter the tobacco barn, which was actually added on. It had several additions. There was actually a second tobacco barn you can see in some older photographs of the property. And this is how the weddings and events can enter the barn in that smooth, continuous flow. We have a tent here that's here April to November. And this past winter, I wanted to dress the tent up a little bit. So we spent about 2 months carving old barn beams. So we were able to literally hollow it out. I had an Amish blacksmith make clasps for me. This is the same blacksmith that comes to our living history events. And we tied them together. So they're hiding the tent poles. And the top one is hollowed out as well. We have a lovely historic chandelier.
That's genius.
But it's just an amazing way that, again, clients can see the craftsmanship. You can see the axe marks that were used in these barns. Now we'll step inside. We're going to enter the center of the tobacco barn. This is how the guests enter. And when the guests enter, the first thing they'll see is the center of the building, where we can have a sweetheart or head table. This again being a tobacco barn, we remodeled and refurbished. Interesting story about this. When we first purchased the property and I had these people pulling in the driveway, looking around, the next question was, oh, we have to go to the bathroom. Can we use your bathroom? And I said, in my house?
Right.
So we said to the township, well, you know, we kind of need some bathrooms. And they said, oh, that's amazing. You're zoned residential ag. So here's your bathroom permit. You can go ahead and put some bathrooms in the front of the tobacco barn.
Wow.
5 years go by and we get a lovely letter from the new zoning officer that says, gee whiz, we're going back over the last 10 years of zoning decisions, and we apologize, but there was an error. So now you need to meet commercial code.
Okay.
So we had to take out all of our residential wiring and measurements and ADA bathrooms and convert everything to commercial general assembly if we wish to continue with people inside the barn. They call this a change of use of the structure. There's no such thing as grandfathering. So once I calmed down and wrapped my head around the situation, it was like the gold rush days. It was California or bust. It was White Chimneys or bust, because by the time we had the electric bill and all the renovations, I knew we couldn't stop. I had to have an HVAC system, and we were going to be open all year round, and that's truly the vision and how things changed. So if you look up, again, my goal was to keep everything as historic as possible and original. Outside of the barn, we did not want to disturb the exterior, and all of the renovations occurred from the inside. We had to add steel plates and LVLs and stud out the walls and foil layers. Wow. And then I came through with a scissor lift and I hand painted every carriage bolt and screw I could find because I didn't want to see it.
It is wonderful.
Anything that wasn't supporting, again, if you've worked in tobacco barns, you know there were a lot of loose pieces. It was just for hanging tobacco.
Right.
We took those out.
Right.
It was like spaghetti in here.
I'm sure.
Visually, you couldn't move with all the boards. So everything that's in here is supporting and was necessary for the building. Interestingly, we are standing on the original floor as well. This, as you know, you drove in one side with your team and out the other. And we've made many repairs. Mark, our sheller, our floor man, here's a repair that he had made. We wanted to keep the original floor. The side pieces we did have to completely replace. Again, if you're familiar with tobacco barns, the side piece was usually just a half-inch piece of wood. It wasn't a full piece.
Right. It wasn't the threshing floor.
Exactly.
This was the threshing floor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the side pieces were completely rotted out in several sections. So we had to replace. This is actually, we chose a yellow pine, and this is a tongue and groove yellow pine. So it really bridged up to match the original floor. We believe this is a Douglas fir. This is the best analysis we could come to with this particular piece of wood. This barn was also added on at some point. Again, speaking to the growth and the wealth here at the property. If you look at the beam structure, this would have been one of the last supporting ones, and the next section was where the additions start. This has a full basement dirt floor, and at that second post structure, there is a stone wall with an opening that you go back to the next section. So we know that this was an added on piece. This is a very large tobacco barn.
It's huge.
Speaking to the volume of lands, they owned the whole valley.
I mean,
this
I don't know how many acres this would be, but
it
there's a lot
was,
of acres in here.
It was several hundred, yes.
And then that dirt floor space down below, that would have been one of the places where they would put the tobacco.
Yes, it was another layer to hang.
Protect.
The front, you did have your stripping room. So there is
Yeah.
a Bilco basement stairway there. Nice. Yeah. Currently, we have a little loft up here. This is where the gentlemen get ready before the wedding. We call that the last chance lounge. Empty bottles, they get to sign and date. So their experience gets to live on here, part of the history. I mean, honestly, truth be told, my dream would be to completely redo the basement, dig it out, make deeper footers and things. So we'll just have to see what happens. I don't know. These, again, personal pieces. We have a full vintage china set for $300. So if some of our clients wish to do vintage china, you can. Just something that we've collected through the years.
Good Lord.
Yes. The Hoosier. Everyone remembers the Hoosier. That's a fun story to tell a bride. If you were a bride in 1910 and you didn't get a Hoosier, there was a big problem, right?
Right.
But yes, we love to show that as well.
The tin table slides out?
It sure does, yep,
Yeah.
and out. This was your ice box, your
Yeah.
spices, your sifter. And
That drawer tin as well?
yes, it is actually.
Yeah,
It is
yeah,
actually.
great.
We use it for storage, but this also is a great coffee station.
Sure. It's gorgeous. And I don't see a lot of them with the flour sifters still in them.
Yeah, it's
That's
just
wonderful.
it's a spectacular piece.
It really is. And to have that Hoosier plate on it.
I know.
Is amazing.
I know. This is an old stove, another piece we picked up in our antiquing travels. This was made in Columbia, PA, on the river. As you know, the Susquehanna had many ironworks, and this was a stove from one of the furnaces there. We made a frame on wheels, so it gets to be part of someone's wedding. It's a great memory picture station. So brides or the cake. We've had the cake sitting on here as well. Being passionate about historical accuracy and preservation is foremost in our mind, and how we want to preserve it and represent. It tells a story. Again, it's really speaking to our generations of American history.
Right.
Let's expand the walking tour.
Okay.
Yes, whatever we can do. Now, here's our historic parking lot. Again, some things we've had to add early on. Well, the first 10 years we parked in the pasture here, but we had to have some infrastructure. Obviously, we can walk up this way because we're zoned ag. We're still passionate about horses. There will always be a horse presence here. It's just part of who we are. Okay, several Victorias. This is a Brewster. You know the name?
Yes, I do.
Just a fabulous, fabulous piece, and very proper because your driver didn't sit with you, okay?
This program is available for purchase. To order your copy, please call 319-362-3027 or visit www.ruralheritage.com. Rural Heritage is a bi-monthly magazine dedicated to draft animal farming and logging, as well as other aspects of our rich rural heritage. It is published by Mishka Press, which also offers a complete line of Back to the Land books, DVDs, and calendars. Call or write for a catalog or subscription information, or visit our website at www.ruralheritage.com.